Namaste Bittiya. Myself JVN Neha Saini from Physiotherapy and Diagnostics, Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. Here I am going to tell you about the anatomy of radius. In the radius, we discuss about the introduction, site determination, features and attachments along with clinical anatomy of the radius. The radius is one of the two bones which is located in the forearm. It is lying laterally. So in the forearm we have two bones, and on the lateral side we have the radius and ulna on the medial side. Radius is a long bone and it is divided into three parts: the proximal, middle and lower one third. Along its entire length it has been divided into three parts. This is the upper part, the proximal part, this is middle, and this one is distal part of the radius. So in the proximal part, that is in the upper end, we have this rounded structure known as radius. This is known as head of radius. It articulates with the capitulum at the distal end of the humerus. That is, the capitulum is formed at the distal end, which is articulating with the superior surface of radius and forms humeroradial joint, which is a part of the elbow joint. Then this is highlighted area is known as neck of radius, which is surrounded by annular ligament. This ligament allows the radius to rotate around the ulna in pronation and supination. So this is the annular ligament. In the diagram we can see this is the annular ligament and it is forming a circle around the head of radius. So in the center we have the head of radius. So in this circle, this radius moves during supination and pronation movements. This part is the radial tuberosity. This tuberosity gives attachment to the biceps brachialis muscle. So this biceps brachii muscle attached on the posterior aspect of this radius tuberosity. This muscle is originating from the scapula and inserting on the radial tuberosity, and the action of this muscle is flexion of the elbow joint and also supination of the forearm. Then at the lower end we have this styloid process. This is on the lateral side and is prominent. Then on the posterior surface of the radius at the lower end we have this tubercle known as dorsal tubercle. This dorsal tubercle, also known as Lister's tubercle. Just lateral to this groove, lateral to this tubercle we have groove. This groove is for the extensor carpi radialis brevis muscle, and lateral to it we find the tendon of extensor carpi radialis longus muscle. So at the lower end of the radius, lateral and medial to the tubercle, we have different grooves. These grooves are because of the passage of extensor tendons. So you should remember which tendon lies just medial to the dorsal tubercle and which tendon lies just lateral to it. So the tendon which lies just lateral to the dorsal tubercle is the extensor carpi radialis brevis, and lateral to the extensor carpi radialis brevis we have the groove for extensor carpi radialis longus. So this thing you have to remember. Then just medial to the distal tubercle we have another groove. This groove is for extensor pollicis longus. This is another muscle of the back of forearm which is known as extensor pollicis longus. Then medial to extensor pollicis longus we have different tendons of extensor digitorum and extensor indicis. Extensor indicis is the tendon for the index finger, and extensor digitorum, these are the tendons for medial four fingers of hand. So these muscles lie on the medial aspect of this dorsal tubercle. Now at the lower end we also have some articular facets. So at the lower end the lateral triangular articular surface is for scaphoid. since lower end of radius articulates with the carpal bones to form the wrist joint. So here we have the facets, that is the triangular area which is highlighted in this diagram is for the scaphoid bone, and medially we have this facet for the articulation with the lunate bone. Lunate is another carpal bone. So both the scaphoid and lunate articulates with the lower end of radius and forms the wrist joint. Now again, just on the medial aspect of the lower end, we have a notch known as ulnar notch. At this point, the radius articulates with the ulna and forms the distal radio-ulnar joint. Now the muscles attached on the radius. On the lateral aspect of radius, that is on the lateral surface in the upper 1/3 part, we have the insertion of supinator muscle. So in the area highlighted of the radius, this area is for the insertion of supinator muscle. Then just lower part, that is in the middle 1/3 of the lateral surface, there is a tuberosity which is for the attachment of pronator teres muscle. This muscle arises from the humerus and the ulna and get inserts on the lateral surface of middle 1/3 area of the radius. Then another muscle on the lateral aspect is that brachioradialis muscle. It is attached at the base of the styloid process of radius. So here we can see the highlighted area is the base of the styloid process. We have the insertion of brachioradialis muscle. Brachioradialis muscle arises from the humerus. Then next muscle on the posterior surface of radius is abductor pollicis longus. It arises from the middle 1/3 of the posterior surface of radius and it is inserting on the first metacarpal bone. So this is the abductor pollicis longus. Next muscle at the lower 1/3 of the posterior surface of radius is extensor pollicis brevis. This muscle is again for the thumb. Now muscles on the anterior aspect of the radius. First is flexor digitorum superficialis. This muscle arises from the anterior oblique line which extends from the radial tuberosity up to middle 1/3 of the anterior border of radius. So this is the anterior oblique line. Here we have the origin of flexor digitorum superficialis muscle. This muscle is for fingers, that is it is forming 4 slips, 4 tendons for medial 4 fingers. Next muscle on the anterior aspect is the flexor pollicis longus. This is muscle for the thumb and it arises from the anterior surface of middle 1/3 of radius. So this is the flexor pollicis longus for the thumb. Another muscle on the anterior surface is pronator quadratus. It arises from the anterior surface of lower 1/3 of radius. This muscle is quadrangular in shape, that is why it is known as quadratus, and it is helpful for pronation, and that is why it is known as pronator quadratus muscle. Now the clinical anatomy. Colles fracture versus Smith's fracture. There is a minor difference between these two types of fracture. In both the fractures, lower end of radius is damaged. So lower end of radius is fractured. But in case of Colles fracture, the distal fragment, it displaced backwards and upwards. That is why it is known as Colles fracture. In case of Smith's fracture, the distal fragment is displaced forwards and downwards. This is known as Smith's fracture. So this is the fractured fragment, distal fractured fragment of radius. When it is displaced backwards, it is known as Colles fracture. When it is displaced forwards, it is known as isthmus fracture. Most of the time students gets confused in this terms, so you should remember the basic difference between these type of fractures. Next is Galeazzi's fracture. Galeazzi's fracture is the fracture of distal one third of the radius along with dislocation of distal radioulnar joint. So in this also distal end of the radius is fractured, but it is also accompanied by dislocation of inferior radioulnar joint, that is distal radioulnar joint. So this kind of fracture is known as Galeazzi's fracture. Next is Chauffeur's fracture. It is the fracture of styloid process of radius. So in this only styloid process of the radius is fractured. This is known as Chauffeur's fracture. Now the questions related to this topic which can be asked in your exams. Write short note on attachments of lower end of radius. So in this you have to mention about the dorsal tubercle and the structures which are passing in the grooves which are lying medial or lateral to the dorsal tubercle, and also the attachment at the lower one third part of the radius, and also the articulations made at the lower end of radius, and draw diagram. Next question is Galeazzi's fracture. So in this you have to discuss about what is Galeazzi's fracture. Now this exercise is for your file work. You draw this diagram and label all the structures which are demarcated in this image. You can draw only radius, there is no need to draw ulna, and you can use pencil color, that is only black pencil or the black pen for demarcation and for outlining of the image. No color is used for filling the diagram of the bone. Next exercise for your file is write down, discuss the attachments of the radius. So in this you have to use sky blue color for insertion and orange for origin of the muscle. So both these diagrams you have to draw. One is on the anterior surface, other is posterior surface. So both the diagrams are to be mentioned in your files. So this completes your topic, the anatomy of the radius. Thank you.